toolkits that you can exercise with. For example, one astronaut has to work out for 2 hours a day while working in space to keep healthy. And all of these are well prepared, especially for the case when astronauts have to stay for quite a while in a space. And here, you can actually install a cycling machine, and you can put your hand on this handle, then you can work out. So in this space lab, usually what will be going on? What's the task for astronauts? So for astronauts, they have to control the spacecraft by using all these instruments here. For example, monitoring of the entire operation, and there are around 2,000 parameters that are integrated in this one single display. So there are real-time, dynamic, analytical graphics for astronauts to watch. Because all these equipments have to be monitored by astronauts regularly. They have to sometimes conduct inspections on a regular basis. Third is that in this kind of a zero-gravity environment, sometimes it's just tricky to do something easy that you think is easy on the ground, but when you are in space, going to toilet can be quite challenging. And of course, there are all sorts of engineering experiments or scientific research, and sometimes some learning sessions. All of these, you have to be well trained before you really go into space. We have to make sure we get well prepared on the ground. Then we can make sure we have a good time up here. Yes, exactly. When it comes to working in space, I do understand how important it is for astronauts to be well trained before they are put here. Exactly. So maybe you just take a learning session for 5 minutes up there, but you have to take at least 100 hours of training before that. Yes, exactly. So it takes a lot of endeavor, and we really respect that. You're right, because for astronauts, maybe you only see their glory moment, but you never see how hardworking they are. They have to be well trained psychologically and physically. And of course, there are a lot of emergency measures and protocols they have to learn. Sometimes they have to go to desert, or they have to do a lot of deep diving in the ocean, so that they are more accustomed to this kind of weight loss environment. So now we are simulating the operations up in space. So do we have some equipments that can create almost the same environment, just like you are in space? Yes, we've actually developed some systems for training, but they are basically virtual training systems, but I can show you around. Now with new technologies such as virtual reality or artificial intelligence, we've developed a system which is combining virtual scenes with reality. So it's really a VR training system for astronauts. You can try it
我们开发了一些这种虚拟的一些训练系统，我们可以到这个里头也可以给各位网友展示一下。
好的，那我们去看一下。
I can feel how it's like when I'm up in space. Yeah, what you can see now is really the sort of view that astronauts can see. Oh yeah, it really feels like I'm up there. I can see the space station. Yeah, this kind of a new technology can really benefit us. But you cannot experience the zero gravity environment. But with VR now, you can really get the feeling. It feels so amazing when there's weightlessness in space. And you can also do some operations. You can try to use the lever here. There's a panel and there's a trigger that you can use. So with this, you can simulate yourself working forward or backward, turning left or right. And this is different compartments. You have the experiment lab, and you also have all these different spaces. And there are also the docking part. And we can also provide some experience in lab number 2, where you can experience the weightless in space or overweight. Well, this is a laser distance meter, and you can also get to experience what's inside this hatch. And with virtual reality technology, we are simulating everything inside. If you open the curtain, you can see all these equipments here. And by pulling the trigger, you can also check out each and every device. For example, this is your personal hygienic stuff, and this is like a plant macro environment, and this is to have a study of your cardiovascular conditions under weightlessness. And you can also turn around, look around, everything inside. It's a panoramic view, so you can see everything around you. So it's very surreal, and you can also walk through. I try to go to the next hatch to see what's in there, and you can also just lower your head a little bit and dive into the inside of the spacecraft. And this is actually the orbit cabin, or the orbit hatch, where you can enter the space lab. Wow, that's really like a complete tour of the inside with the VR technology. As for the return cabin, we are still trying to work on it, so it's not ready yet, but you can experience the first two first. Then you can go through here. Well, it's really intuitive. It's right in front of you, all these devices and how it's like inside the space lab. And you feel it's kind of close to you, especially when you're going to use those devices on a daily basis.
So this is more or less we have for this one. So for me, it's just a total new experience. very cool.
因为返回舱那边我们还正在做相关的那个
You good? Yes, still can walk.
轨道舱，还有那个天空
But we didn't experience that before.
行，你可以再穿过去，再穿过去。
So this is really new and attractive. I believe everyone would like to give it a try. Because this is things we really very see. So this is a training machine. So this is the simulation of airship. So for the astronauts, they will stay here like 2 hours or 2 hours and 10 minutes ahead of the actual mission started. And also for their daily training, she should also stay inside for the training purpose. So this is the real simulation, and we also prepare the problem shooting training. I believe this is what's most valued. Because for astronauts, they know how to do everything because this is their training. They have this every day. They know exactly every steps. But if they are under big pressure, especially facing some errors, that's additional task and challenges to them. So everything we're doing here, especially the problem shooting, the errors, all that can be the real situation. So we talk about, we include a lot of errors here for astronauts to train. So based on the errors, the astronauts will decide, so where is the problem, and based on the handbook or the process, they will start to find the errors and solve it. So when I stand in front of it, when we see astronauts before they enter into the cabin, so just not saying it, let's do it. So that's experience exactly how the astronauts feel. So for the real mission, so this actually is fixed on the launching pad. So astronauts with a special instrument to help them to get inside. And they have these. You can see when we open it, this is the orbit cabin. So we don't know whether our viewers can still recall, actually our astronauts from here enter the cabin. Of course, they wear the special outfit. So they come into this orbit cabin. And they close this door tightly. So this is a cabin door. And they will open the returning cabin door. And there are 3 seats. Of course, astronauts have their seats. So they check everything's ready, okay. So 2 hours and 2 hours 10 minutes before the actual mission, they should be seated. So talk about 3 astronauts. They're sitting there and waiting for the lunch. I saw that on TV. So we talk about here, whatever we provide here is the same thing you watch on TV. So this is a 1-to-1 simulation. So I believe our viewers think this is so great, very cool. So talk about astronauts, their daily training. They had a lot to do. So for their trainings, it's also divided into different categories. They have the group training, so that includes all astronauts. So this is something they must do. And second, we talk about if before performing mission, they have a training for that mission. So basically, the selected astronauts will do that part of training, and we also have the intensified training. All these trainings. Talk about this year, actually, we not really have a mission, but talk about all our simulations. Actually, we still have a quite busy schedules for training. We can tell actually for our manned space flight mission, it's really joined a great effort paid by all the people here. We can tell their training is really hard, and they work so hard. And you look at the cabin, is so small, a very narrow space. But for our astronauts, they trained for thousands of times. And remember, they wear a very heavy outfit. So this is also a big consumer about their physical capability. So for this one we're looking right now, so it's another training, and we talk about that for the 8 missions of the manned space flight. First, we can send our astronauts to the space, and on second, our astronauts can go outside the cabin. And the third, they can do the manual docking and maneuvering. So this is the one for the training for manual rendezvous and docking. So we assign a different part of the cabins to the space, and they will docking together. So we provide a larger room for the astronauts in space. I believe we talk about the manned space flight or the aerospace project really aim to deliver benefits to the whole world. So right now we look at the training equipment. Of course, this is part of their trainings. So we look at our centers. We have different labs. We have different training setups that all for our astronauts. So right now you are seeing here just the top of the iceberg. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Jiang. So far, her field is so cool. So I'm good now, but I still feel so excited. I believe our viewer is also quite interested in that all this training equipment, for sure, but they're also quite concerned about what kind of food our astronauts eat. Talk about the nutrition setup, how we have that whole arrangement for the food. So look at all these we prepare here. So look at the staple food. So let's look at what we have here. So everything you look at here for the mission, actually, that's a real food really enjoyed by our astronauts when they're performing the docking and maneuvering mission and the space life mission. So look at the noodles, the veggies, and also with meats. And also look like this is the instant food. So ready to eat food. So we also have some sauces. So there are basically 6 major categories of food we prepare for astronauts. So talk about the requirement of what kind of food we should select. Of course, it's different because the whole physical conditions is different in space compared to the astronauts in land. So, and also we have the strict requirement on the quality. So talk about the whole process, end-to-end quality control, safety. They will have a full range of index to monitoring the whole process. So talk about food, how that tastes. Because we really touch a great important and this should taste good, right? Because our astronauts from different part of China, they may have a different preference. So, of course, we're astronauts from different parts of China. They have different habit of eating. So some really require the spicy food. Some really like the acid food. So what we can provide? We'll first listen to the astronauts what they really like to eat, and we try our best to reflect in the food preparing for the actual mission. We have the whole diet arrangement. And based on the astronauts, the actual physical condition, they will have the manner adjustment. So they can have the manner adjustment. They also have their personal requirement. Yes, we can fulfill that. So for foodies, so we have the spicy food. Right now we have look at the rice, the meat, the potato and beef, chicken, pork. So there are all different range of food. For foodies, I believe this is a really great party. So can we really eat veggies or meat? So it should be let's see what we can provide to you, because for this one, this is an instant one, so you just can eat right away. So maybe you can taste one of these ready-to-eat way. And so we have nuts and spicy beef. Here you go. So this is my first time to experience the space food. So, and also because you're a foodie, so give us some feedback. Good? Tasty? Yes. I believe we can really tell a little bit spicy. So it's a spicy beef, but it's not that spicy. Really nice. So we have a different DA taste. And also, of course, we're not really in the big piece, because we know the astronauts in space they're not really that convenient to eat in a big bat. So that's why we make everything small, so they can eat with a small bat and also easy to digest. So we should not also to influence the operation of the equipment. So I have the beef, and maybe you have the nuts. So they have a various kind of nuts. So I have an almond. So talk about the packaging. Any special requirement? And talk about storage. So expiration date. Of course, we should take consideration of the whole time period of the mission, and also the food or the material itself. So look, this kind of food they can enjoy quite a long expiry date. It's about 12 months. And the beverage. So because the process is dehydrating, so they also can enjoy a longer time period. But we'll talk about the meat. They have a quite short expiry date. It's around 6 to 9 months. Still will depend on the different emissions and depend on the different food material.
Just to make sure astronauts can have a healthy diet, we have to make some studies in how to prepare such astronaut food. We can also check out the questions of our audience. If there's any question about all these meals in space. Still, you just get a lot of comments like kudos, it looks delicious, and they wanted to be the journalist here so they can get a taste of the astronaut food. This is the first time for you guys to really see the real food for astronauts, and usually people that are not in our industry will find it very hard to see something like this with their own eyes. So I believe your audience must be quite intrigued by the delicious food in space. Right. Now, since we have already had our meals, maybe it's time for us to look at the spacesuit. Let's look at all these different color, different styles, and we have so many spacesuits. So what functions they serve? It's really like a fashion show in space. Exactly. It looks dashy, and we have our expert here, who is the expert on exterior. Now, could you please tell us what's the difference? What's so special about this spacesuits? Actually, this is only part of the collection we have, because astronauts have to dress according to the needs in space station, and they also need certain functions with their suits. That's why we designed them like this. So the first row is designed for our astronauts to wear on the ground. This is like an overcoat, and this is more like a sort of work suit. And when we are designing all of these apartments, we try to really make them endurable but stylish. And we've also designed the logos for our astronauts. For example, you can find the national flag of China on your left chest, which is to show that you have your country in your heart. And this is the logo for astronaut. There is a shield which represent that we are part of the universe. And here you can find the name of the astronauts, and lower you can find the ranking. For example, if there is only 1 star, that means Liu Yang, this astronaut, has been up in space for once. And on the left arm, you can find a CMS logo here. On the right arm, you can find a badge which is about the particular mission this astronaut is on this time. So for Liu Yang, it is Shenzhou 9, and for Wang Yaping, it's Shenzhou 10. So that's the mission code. Yeah. For example, some astronauts have been up there for 3 times, then you have 3 stars. And if you have been up there for multiple times, then the last mission you attended will be put on the badge on your right arm. So it's usually updated when those astronauts have new missions. And in the back row, you can find some sport suits for astronauts on the ground. And the design, first of all, it has to be quite anti-corrosive, which means the texture is really proof of molds or bacteria and statics. As for this kind of work suit, you can find there are a lot of pockets and zips where you can sometimes hang something on your suit or put something in your pocket, because you have to be operating in a weightless environment. And we know that in a weightless environment, sometimes you don't get to exercise your legs. That's why we designed the suit like this, which is with elastic material. So astronauts have to do a bit of stretching when they are wearing this. So they are forced to work out. Yeah, you can look at the color difference. There is a orange one. This is actually for astronauts to put on when they are in the ocean, when they have returned to Earth and they are in the ocean. It is waterproof, and the orange is also an easy color to detect. What about thermal insulation? Well, there will be another layer on the outside. All right, so maybe it's really time for us to look at the de facto astronaut suit or space suit. This is something you wear within the hatch or cabin. For example, when there is a leakage, when there is a contingent leakage, or there is pressure rising, then for the astronauts, they have to put this on to keep themselves safe. And once putting this on, there is only 6 hours for them to return to Earth. So such a spacesuit, how can I protect our astronauts from such extreme environment? Because this is really something you wear within the cabin, which is to make sure that when there is anything going wrong with the spacecraft, they can put this on. It is mainly protecting you from the pressure. It is to maintain the 0.4 atmospheric pressure inside, so that you can survive. And it is also capable to serve as a ventilating suit for the astronauts. And this is the oxygen supply pipe, where the oxygen stock can be plugged in so that astronauts can get access to oxygen. So when there is an emergency, the pressure of 0.4 atmospheric pressure will be kept. So generally speaking, this is used for returning, for change of orbit, or for docking. And on those circumstances, astronauts have to put this on. I think it also looks cool, right? Exactly. We also try to make it flashy and fancy at the same time. We want to make it more of an industrial design cool. Well, that's amazing. I can find the Tiangong 10 and Shenzhou 10, Tiangong 1 and Shenzhou 10 manned space mission. Yes, this reflects the particular mission this astronaut is on, or the last mission he's on. This is the most important one, which is the suit when astronauts have to leave the spacecraft and enter the outer space. This is really designed for the outer space, is to keep astronauts alive. As we all know, you have a altitude of around 340 to 50 kilometer away from Earth. That's the orbital altitude. So you have to make sure the pressure is adjusted to the normal pressure. So there will be a macro environment which can maintain human life. At the same time, you also have to provide oxygen. That's why we've adjusted the oxygen supply pack, which is on the back of the astronaut. And there are 2 oxygen containers that can also self-adjust to the pressure within the suit. And that's the oxygen supply system. And because we know the outer space is really wasteless environment, so in that case, even if there is air inside the suit, but they will not flow because there's no gravity. So in that case, we have to prevent the scenario where the carbon dioxide may suffocate our astronauts. That's why we need to have 2 fans here that can help us to force the gas within this suit to flow, to really blow away carbon dioxide. But if the concentration of carbon dioxide keeps going up, that's not okay. So we also need to have a purifier inside that can absorb the CO2 inside, so that we can make sure our astronauts can have proper air inside with a certain level of oxygen, and it's also dry and clean air. I think for our astronaut Zhai, when he first worked out of the compartment of the spacecraft, he said, I'm out of the cabin and I feel quite right. So he was wearing this, right? Exactly. Actually, when the astronaut is in space, sometimes there are extreme temperatures. For example, when he's facing the sun, the temperature can be extremely high. And when he's in the shade, it is extremely cold. So this spacesuit has to be an insulation which can protect the astronaut from such extreme temperatures. And you also get to stabilize the temperature within the spacesuit. Of course, you're a living person and you have your metabolism that also generates some energy. So we also need to have some cooling settings inside, so that with ventilation, with liquid cooling, and there is a vaporizer which can actually gasify the ice. So in that way, it takes away the heat from the astronauts. Wow, amazing. Now our audience have a lot of interests in our spacesuit. Let me check out if there are some specific questions on it. It's very easy to put on and take off. You can find there is a string that you can pull, and this is the locking mechanism. So when you put on, the lock is unlocked, and you can just put it on like you're really putting on a backpack. And by pulling the string, you can close the door, and you can be locked up, so that the entire process is completed. Within 5 minutes, you can get in. It's incredibly handy. I missed a very important thing. Just now we talked about life support. which is to maintain the life conditions of the astronauts. Another important function is that this is a work suit as well, remember? So if the pressure is 0.4 atmospheric, then it's going to be kind of hard for our astronauts to really move freely, especially the joints will have some frictions. So we've also designed different joint, such as your elbow and your wrist, and so in that way you have a more freedom, a degree of freedom within the spacesuit. Well, exactly.
Actually, there are lots hidden inside. So talk about this is really challenging to develop this kind of the outfit. There are only 3 countries, United States, Russia, and China. And only China and Russia, our astronauts can wear the outfit by themselves, but for United States, they need someone to help the astronauts to put on this outfit. So only these 3 countries, including China, can develop the astronaut outfit. So we talk about from the height to toe. We really put a lot of efforts inside the whole design and the development of the outfit. So look at the helmet. Actually, it's including 4 layers. So this is the outer layer. So it's with that gold coating. It's real gold. So it's a golden coating. So it seems like the sunglasses. So for astronauts, based on their own needs, they can unfold or unfold the outer layer. So this, the second layer, that's for protecting the astronauts. So for this protecting layer, we don't want the astronauts or the inner layers to get destroyed, or the astronauts cannot see the outside clearly with the inner layers. And we also have the nitrogens to make sure the temperatures is good for the astronauts, and also the moistures will not get inside of the outfit. So there are 4 layers, and we talk about the backup. So you talk about the oxygen bottles. We have the A2 bottles, and you look at, we also right down here we have the main one and the backup one. So for the really key parts, we all have the backups. And we may all quite talk about where this is not really in the reversed order. So we talk about the astronauts. There is a mirror, right? So through the mirror, astronauts can see the words from the front side. So basically, you can see all the characters actually is in the mirror way. So this is really the details, subtle, so very sweet details. So everything in design is in the purpose to provide convenience to our astronauts. So you can see the lighters, the characters, all in mirror image order. So talk about the whole team really devoted themselves. And we talk about actually they work really hard. We talk about the outfit because it's really started from the ground. And this is right now we can make it home developed, home designed. This cutting edge technology. So look at this outfit. We spent nearly 4 years. So talk about Russia and the United States. It doubled our time. So this is really a groundbreaking technology and achievement. Thank you so much. So we talk about the training equipment, the outfit, the food at our Beijing Aerospace Control Center. We have a lot to provide to our viewers. Then we talk about the training lab for our astronauts is established April 1968. So it's already celebrated the 51st birthday. So we talk about the lab actually is designated for the manned space mission. Right now we have our 17 disciplines and covering a quite comprehensive areas for the astronauts performing missions in space. So we talk about the experiment, the providing, the supporting to the astronauts. We can compare to NASA and the center in Russia. And we right now would like to alleviate. Right now we try to promote our center to an even higher standard. So we have the different mission conducted by the lab and also look at the whole achievement we got. In 2003, sent Yang Liwei, the very first astronaut to the space, achieve our primary dream, and then we signed 2 astronauts to the space, stay for quite a longer time. And for Zhai Zhigang, the astronauts have our Chinese flag in outer space. It's in 2008 and 2013. We have Shenzhou 9, Shenzhou 10, Shenzhou 11, and we broke the challenges like the maneuvering, docking. And we also give lectures from space, like our astronauts Wang Yaping gave a lecture to the students on ground. It really encouraged the students from primary and secondary schools. They really devoted themselves to the course. So this is really a precious memory for the students. Actually, right now we have the students in universities because of that lecture given by the astronauts. Really encouraged and inspired them to pursue their career in the space mission. So we talk about the Jing Haipeng. It's the 3rd time for him. So this feel cool. He said yes, and feels so cool. So this is his 3rd time to be in the space. We feel so proud to look back at all our achievement. We feel quite happy because for Jing Haipeng, this is his 3rd time to perform the space mission. This is really great. So we talk about right now way toward our 3rd step. We have the master plan of the aerospace mission. Right now we spare no efforts to building the upcoming mission of the space station. This is our key job for my center. Right now we're doing the preparation job. We talk about space flight, anything related to human being. You could find everything here in my center. Talk about their flight, the food, their day-to-day living needs. And we need to protect their health and safety while they're traveling in the orbit. We provide a supporting job. So right now we're working a lot to find a way to better protect our astronauts in space. So we made every step solidly. We talk about environmental control. We talk about the bioenvironment control. And there are actually more than 1,000 sets in the whole system. We talk about breathing, right? Oxygen needs. We provide oxygen. We talk about the carbon dioxide, how to get this carbon dioxide out. And also we talk about the gases, or how we can collect all these gases. Because for the moistures, we don't want the moisture to influence the equipment. And also the waste, we also should collect them. And also look at the food. And also the health index, we should also monitor closely of our astronauts. We have a team of doctors, and also the medical equipment, the monitoring equipment. And that's also the research and the development work also going on here in the center. So we would like to provide a full round protection to our astronauts. On top of that, we also would like to make sure our astronauts can perform the missions in an effective way. So we talk about how to guarantee our astronauts can work in an effective way and with less errors. So we talk about how our astronauts can operate the equipment in a friendly way. So according to my experience, I can tell that it's far beyond your imagination how difficult, how hard that can be for the astronauts to operate all different equipment in space, like the tools, the equipment. If you need astronauts, actually for our astronauts, they should wear these things like to fix themselves, right, in space. Because it's a weightless environment. If they just always floating, it's really hard for them to perform the mission. So it's a total new environment. I believe the whole team here really made a tremendous effort to our astronauts. We feel so excited every time when we see the launching of satellites or the spacecraft. So we talk about the Shenzhou 5 and the returning cabin. We also have a tour in China to show the returning cabin. It's really excited because it's so close for me. Actually, I was there. It's the real stuff, right, from the space back to the Earth. I'm really that close to see this real stuff. So we also not only guarantee the missions can be performed successfully, and we also spend a lot of efforts to develop and doing a lot of research in our lab. And this is, you can see the pictures from our lab, and we have the medical lab. And food lab. And also the astronauts health guarantee lab. This is all national level labs. A lot of job actually they would like to find a solution to the scientific areas. So we not only focus on astronauts, actually also do quite a lot to make our contribution to the cause of science and technology innovation. So we talk about when people entering to the space are astronauts. So we feel a new issue, that's the physiology in space. because it is a total new environment. So a lot of things, especially for that, the space physiology, need waiting for us to find out more, because like from the face you look at the may in a very good condition, but we should look into different, like the blood index, we should look at the different physical condition index. We have the penguin outfit, we just saw it, because like muscles, right, they should train. So we need to train the astronauts' muscles, otherwise we don't want to see the astronauts suffering from atrophy. So we need to make sure the astronaut can stay as the same effect as they are on the ground. So these are all are the work right now undergoing in my lab.
Now, our center has been serving China's aerospace efforts for 50 years. And guided by all these missions of space exploration, we are on the right path forward. And really like to thank you for what you did for China's aerospace industry. It's actually a lot of the colleagues working here have been so meticulous, and they work a lot of overtime, days in, days out. And we really appreciate this opportunity to talk about how hardworking our people are in front of your television audience. And it is really a rare experience for most of the people to experience what's inside the spacecraft and what's outside, what's the food and what's the spacesuits. It's really the first time for us to disclose so much. Well, we should say that the audience watching this program today are really lucky. And of course, you know, we have our confidentiality, and you have to get a lot of approvals to get inside. And you can find on the wall, we have some posters that are really trying to cheering our folks up so that they can keep working hard for the shared dream. Because today we have the Jilin satellite, which is going to be launched. And now we'd like to shift to the scenes of the launch. But if there's any questions that you have collected from your audience, you can also pass it on to us, and we can see what we can do to answer those questions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now we are going to witness the moment of the launch. Before that, we'd like to play a video clip so that you understand how we got here with our space exploration effort in China.
各国人民自豪。
欢迎出车，感觉良好。
天梦，助推中国梦，
点燃航天梦想，记录祖国荣耀。
我们的太空有你。
航天信息前沿，创新驱动阵地，
探索我们的太空，书写祖国的荣耀。
浩瀚星河中，愿与你并肩而行。
让我们携手筑梦，共同书写人生壮美的诗。
飞天梦永不失重，科学梦张力无限。
这里有祖国航天事业的昨天、今天和明天，期待你的关注，有你更精彩。
我们在别海雪原，
我们在大洋上。
酒泉卫星发射中心，
太原卫星发射中心，
西安卫星测控中心，中国卫星海上测控部，远望号火箭运输船4船1兵
三亚站，
祝愿中国航天事业蒸蒸日上，再创辉煌。 各国人民自豪。
欢迎出车，感觉良好。
记录祖国荣耀。
我们的太空有你。
航天信息前沿，创新驱动阵地，
探索我们的太空，书写祖国的荣耀。
浩瀚星河中，愿与你并肩而行。
让我们携手筑梦，共同书写人生壮美的诗。
飞天冒永不失重，科学梦张力无限。
这里有祖国航天事业的昨天、今天和明天，期待你的关注，有你更精彩。
我们在别海雪原，
我们在大洋上
酒田卫星发射中心，
太原卫星发射中心，
西安卫星测控中心，中国卫星海上测控部，远望号火箭运输船431B，
三亚站，
祝愿中国航天事业蒸蒸日上，再创辉煌。
各国人民自豪。出征，感觉良好。